Okay, so welcome everyone. This is I guess it's sort of like a post-reaction to the film for these cast members. Everyone here, me, Primus, and Jacob, we've all seen NJ's Part 2. Thanatos is currently doing his homework. Now, this is going to be a spoiler-free review of the movie. We're not going to be talking about anything like spoilers, obviously. But yeah, we'll start introducing ourselves. Thanatos, do you want to give an insight who you voice in this?
Okay. Well, let me just turn on the camera. Sorry, I was trying to find that figure, but
And he's gone. And he's gone. Okay. Oh, what is going on today? The Kremlin's back. Okay. Let's just go. Jacob, you want to take over? Who do you voice?
Hello, I am Jacob Wolves, aka J Watchcraft, and I voice Slash, the Dinobot, and Alpha Trion, one of the 13 primes who likes to doodle in the notebook.
He does. He likes to. He likes to. Speak of notebooks. In notebooks, you do homework, and who's doing homework? Thanatos. Who do you voice?
I provide the voice of Starscream. That's the big one. Predaking, who was a really fun character to voice. Surprisingly, characters I forgot I even voiced. Slug and Strafe.
Yep. Anyone who, apart from Starscream, any character who starts with an S, you forget. Strafe, Slug, Steelbane.
Soundwave.
Soundwave.
Steelbane? I was Steelbane? I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, so we have this conversation every time.
Don't worry, I'm sure Steelbane will show up in a later part.
Yeah, probably. Primus, Primus 84, you're the newest cast member, so welcome. This is like the actual sort of first stream on the channel for you.
Yep.
Do you want to give an introduction to yourself and who you voice?
Yeah, so Primus 84, or John, if you meet me in real life. I voice some much smaller parts than these very talented individuals. I voice a few Nest agents, and we've got a Viacon voice in there as well. Yeah, there's some smaller roles, but it's been really fun to do and fun to be part of this.
Yeah, because when we sort of met and I was trying to get you a role, literally all the recast was basically filled. All the other roles were filled. I'm like, okay, who's no one was left. I'm like, you know what? The other roles that I would have voiced were just like random, like humans dying or Viacons or whatever. So I was like, you know what? That's actually a free role. I haven't recorded those bits yet, so that's why I thought, And I think for a stepping stone for your first thing, if you're not comfortable with going straight into a big character, I think it's good to actually get that foot in the door a little bit.
Oh yeah, it was really good fun. I got good direction. It was basically go ad-lib some screams, some lines, and all that sort of stuff. So I got
with
it. So
I think I literally said something like that, didn't I? I was like, just scream, and it's just improv. You don't go wrong with that.
I had to wait until my neighbors
getting
were away.
flung around like Woody would be with a very violent version of Andy. Just the internal screaming as you're flailed around the bedroom.
Yeah.
Improv was so much fun.
I warned my family. I waited until there were no neighbors in, and basically I let rip on them and sent them over to Daniel. I was like, I hope this is okay.
I think when I initially added Primus's Nest voice in, I think I sent him like a preview. I was like, okay, the bit I've used it on, it's pretty violent. So just be aware that your character there's no way he's gonna live. Like what happens is, I'm not gonna say what happens, but what happens is like there's no going back.
I saw it earlier today, and I was like, okay, yeah.
The funny thing is, I didn't used to be, but last 2 years I got really squeamish, and a few years ago when I wrote this, I was like, oh yeah, blood, gore, death, violence, yeah. And then when I was editing this, like 2 months ago, I'm like, I don't feel well, and I had to finish the scene. I'm like, no. And then even like, I was perfectly fine, and then I'd be like, even like adding the music on when I have to watch the scene and like make sure that the sound effects and the music are all fine. I was just like, oh, I feel sick for the rest of the day now. So I shot myself in the foot there.
Speaking of shooting yourself in the foot, I'm watching End of Days. That's my homework. I'm a star after all.
You are Starscream. Now I do have some questions to sort of ask you guys, not specifically, just like general questions. Again, if we answer in spoiler-free ways, and any questions, thoughts you have, feel free to pitch in here and there if you want. But before I start the questions, do you guys have anything you want to say first?
Nah, I think I'm all good in terms of questions so far and all that.
Yeah,
Nice.
I suppose the only thing I was just going to say was just a brief comment. Is just thoroughly enjoyed the film. Really, just I know we've talked a little bit about it in our chat. Just to say, it is absolutely amazing. I've had such a fun time watching it, and
Nice.
like I say, I'm really new to all this sort of stuff, and I had less insight than the other people who are obviously here on what was going to go on. So it was really. I think I probably had more surprises than everyone else. So everyone's in for a treat. I think who's maybe watches this before they watch the film. So yeah, you've got some fun stuff to watch.
And I think just before I get into the topic, I think you guys might understand the poster a bit more now. You've seen the film. Like you've got to the right, the Dinobots on like Earth. Then you see Hot Rod in space, and there's like something above him. For you guys who've seen the film, you'll know what it is. And then you got Megatron front and center, Starscream in the background, like watching over him. Megatron's just full of rage. And then on the bottom, there's like a mountain range with some shrubbery green. I forgot the name of it now. Again, 4 hours sleep. I'm not functioning well today. So yeah, I mean that bottom bit, anyways. You might think, oh, it's like the rainforest to the Dinobots. It's actually the Madagascar bit, and that was actually publicly released on YouTube anyway, the promo clip. So there's no spoilers there. But yeah, so I think my first question is, generally, what do you think of the story? Like, did you sort of enjoy it? How did you find the pacing? Is there anything that you particularly enjoyed?
Yeah, I mean, I thought the pacing was really good. I know for me, I liked how it kicked off. I think the opening scenes, just with that sort of like real kind of, there was I made a few notes here. Just kind of like, it was the first thing I put a note down when I watched it. Is like that real tension kind of at the start. It like really hits the ground running, which I really liked. I found myself kind of thinking, where are we kind of like, I kind of like thought, if I say it was one of those ones that, you know films got really good pacing where you kind of like, I sort of like, you're wondering where you're at with time with the film, and I kind of did a quick check it out on the YouTube thing, sort of like thing, looking at the time, and I was kind of like, oh, we're nearly at the end. Oh my goodness. Yeah. I kind of like thinking, like we have flown through this, and I think that's always actually a really good sign of how the pacing's gone.
Thank you.
But I feel like, yeah, that kind of like that start with that, they hit the ground running really well, but I think actually allowed for like a few moments of like the story to breathe a little bit. There was a couple of moments. I'm trying to think about how to phrase this without giving away any spoilers as well. But yeah, dipping in and out of action, a couple of little breather moments worked really well. So yeah for me, yeah, I loved how it worked. It kind of like, yeah, it ebbed and flowed in a really nice way. Obviously, it ramps up towards the end a little bit, and yeah. You know, damn you for wanting me more, believing me wanting more.
Yeah, it was similar to part one actually, because the way part one happened, I don't know if you've seen part one, Primus, but the way part one happened is it kicked off with action, then it slowed down for like 5 minutes, then it kicked off again, then it slowed down for like a good 15 minutes, and then it kicked off again. So it's similar to part one a bit, but just, you know, different situations, different scenes. And yeah, I've lost my train of thought now. But again, 4 hours sleep. I can't read and I can't think, but I can talk. So.
Obviously, we've said we know you've mentioned. So I don't think it's a spoiler about the Autobots in Madagascar, but
yeah.
Going to visit the Autobots in Madagascar actually is almost like we talk about tension and sort of stuff. It's actually a nice for the story. It's a nice break in the tension for a little bit.
Yeah.
Before pick back up again.
It's
like there's a brief, almost like
yeah.
moment before the story kind of ramps back up again in like stakes and all that kind of stuff. I'd say.
Yeah, what I was going to say was the opening scene is actually longer than you think. Because at first I was kind of worried that the opening scene would be too long, but then when you sort of watch it and it has the high moments and the low moments, it doesn't feel too long, I thought, and I thought, it's okay. But yeah, Jacob, do you have any sort of thoughts on the story, or anything you particularly think?
With how I think of The End of Days and how it's structured story-wise, part 1 was like the opener, like it's meant to draw your attention in. Part 2 is definitely like the easing of everything that's happened. Like you've still got like all the action pieces here and there and all that sort of stuff, but part 2 is definitely sort of like the calm before the storm, like regardless of all the shit that happens in part 2, it's still like that calm before the storm. Like it's setting up these various story beats that will be followed on throughout the rest of this arc, basically, or saga, basically. And I'm all for it.
Thank
with
you.
what's being set up and with what's been read in terms of like the story and how it's going to progress, it's definitely going to be very exciting seeing it just visualized on the YouTube format, on the 4K HD format.
You can watch it in 4K on that preview, but again, there's a few things that I should have the film finalized by tonight. I've got those extra lines that I needed, but a few things in the credits that I noticed sort of weren't correct, so I need to fix those. But once that's done, I'll basically be uploading the actual final film as a premiere, but I'll leave the unlisted video up. It's just going to be unlisted. But yeah, Thanatos, do you have any thoughts for the homework you've done so far?
Yeah, I gotta say, like, the action in this has to be your best yet. Like, your Megatron is legit kind of scary in all the best ways.
When I originally heard Ryan, basically Megatron's got loads of more lines. Like Ryan submitted all his lines, so there's bit dialogue in the future parts that you've not heard yet, and there's bits when he shouts in this part, but there's bits in the later ones when he really shouts, and I'm listening to Ryan as Megatron, and I'm like, I wrote these lines, and I casted him, and he's terrifying me. Like I when he shouts, I'm like, oh yeah, scary.
Yeah, I mean, it stands out a lot. I mean, like, I love how brutal yours is.
Yeah, I think I mentioned in the Q&A how in this one Megatron, he's very strong, but he's been out of action, so he's kind of rusty. So he gets hit a lot, but the hits he takes, he's durable, but his main like durability is his mental strength. Like he'll get hit, and even if it should like really like take him out of the fight, mentally he'll be too angry and he'll just carry on. So there's hits he takes in that should have ended any other character. But that does take me on to the next point, which is like the general like animation, in general, like the lighting. There were some bits on the lighting that I'm not fully happy with, because the room I was in, there was only so much I could do in terms of lighting. So there was some bits on the lighting I want to improve for part 3, but I think in terms of like the animation style and the sound design, I think we're a lot better. But again, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that as well. Any of you, just jump in whenever. And no one dare talk.
I guess I'll speak first. Yeah, the animation was pretty good in this time around, especially with the fight scenes. The fight scenes were very well choreographed, very, very aggressive. Especially at certain points. I can't really say anything else, otherwise it'll go into like spoiler territory, but
yeah,
be prepared for what will happen in this part. I know I said before it's like the calm before the storm, but still a lot of shit happens in this calmness before the storm.
In terms of the action, I tried to. I mean, this bit isn't spoiler because you see it in the trailer, but I tried to keep sort of each like Dinobot a bit of a rival in it, like we see in the trailer. Strafe and Windraiser, we see Grimlock and Megatron. So I tried to give like each Dinobot a good action scene, but a lot of the action, to be honest, changed from the original screenplay. A lot of it was the same, but there were a lot of it, like the opening scene, the big battle, the bit after the big battle when it's like that bit. That originally was going to be very short. It was going to be short and sweet. And then when I was filming it, I was like, you know what? These two characters, let's just improv it. And a lot of that fight between those two characters, a lot of that was improv. And I pretty much it just came to me. And I was looking at the original screenplay yesterday and I'm like, wow, I'm glad I improv that, because otherwise it would have been a terrible fight. But do you have sort of any particularly favorite moments, any of you, or any bit that sort of stands out?
I would say for me, it's Megatron's arrival. Like, yours stands out compared to a lot of the, because that's been a common thing lately. Like, be proud that yours stands out. Like, you feel every hit.
Thank you.
Yeah, when Megatron arrives, it's like, damn, he really has returned.
Yeah,
especially with like all the stuff that happens prior, with like everything that happens before it's fully revealed. It just makes it like all the more like, oh, what's gonna happen? Like, it's a very tense sort of scenario as to what might happen. And in the end, it just pays off absolutely well.
Thank you for that.
It's such a great way to reintroduce people back to the character that's been a part of this universe of yours for a bit and has disappeared for quite some time. And yeah, what a way to return.
Yeah, I hate to be a bit of a to copy everything that's just been said, but to be honest, that was exactly what I was going to say. It genuinely was. Megatron's arrival was the standout. To be honest, Megatron actually throughout most of this was just epic. It just Ryan's performance was really, really good throughout the whole thing. It was absolute joy to watch, and hear his voice, his lines. Did a really good job of it all. The other thing, I just say something a little different, but I'm not sure if I can, because spoiler territory for later on. What's our deal with this? Are we staying completely spoiler free?
If it's in the trailer, we can discuss it. And even if something slips out, like if you say something spoiler, I can edit it out. And
I won't say in that case. There was one other thing I was going to mention, which we were talking about earlier, but I'll stay shut.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, if you want to say it, I can put it in the editor.
That'll be good. We discussed it earlier. I can discuss it later on.
Okay. Yeah.
Someone here did an awesome performance. That's all I was going to say.
It was you. You did the awesome.
Jacob did an awesome performance too, which we talked about. I mean, Thanos actually did some incredible stuff too. But there was Jacob's performance he did a bit later in the film, I quite liked as well. It really stood out to me.
Yeah. Did you guys sort of capture this style that I did as well, just visually, like how it was a little bit sort of different? I tried to sort of add the music in to give it a certain vibe, and the actual like visual on it, the effects I tried to apply. One of them is go on.
I did notice that actually, like especially with certain fight scenes, it felt very like anime-esque.
Yeah.
In a sense.
Yeah.
Especially with how like certain things like pan out like through those like specific fight scenes. It literally screamed to me like, oh, this is like a anime sort of like kind of like
Dragon
fight.
Ball Z meets Transformers.
Yeah, pretty much.
I don't know how you say it. Now, this isn't really, I'm going to say what it is for spoilers, but did you guys enjoy the sort of twist that happens sort of nearer to the beginning, if you catch where I'm coming from?
Oh, yes.
Now, I wasn't sure if you would remember that, Jacob, because it wasn't, it's been a while since you probably read the screenplay. So I wasn't sure if you would remember it, or if you remembered it was coming, or if you like saw it and was like, oh, I forgot that happens. But obviously Primus, I don't believe you read the massive screenplay, and obviously I don't blame you if you haven't, because it's just it's chaos. But yeah, I hope you all enjoyed that twist.
Oh, it was a really good twist, especially when that whole scenario just finishes, and when you think it's gonna go the way you think you'd expect, nope, you get fucking blindsided by it. And I was like, oh shit, I completely forgot about this. That was like,
dude, same.
And as the whole scene was playing out, I was like, oh, now I remember. It's all coming back to me.
Lane. Yeah.
Because literally the first thing I thought of when looking at that scene was a very particular video that you released regarding this whole scenario and what happens in it.
Yeah.
Revolving around the character and their little shenanigans that they got up to before everything that's happened with this.
Yeah, that's the whole deal where he was like, at the end of part 1, like, they have no idea what's about to go down. And
I really want to say the video, but I don't want to spoil it.
Two questions that I'm gonna sort of ask together. There's two sort of big questions. Is firstly, and again, just jump in when whoever wants to go in first, whenever you want. Firstly, how does it compare to part 1, and has it lived up to the expectations?
Big jump in quality.
Thank you.
You can tell you make a note about this towards the end about how you've honed your craft over the last 4 years. And obviously, I think when I met you, I started watching your earlier videos first. Yeah. And I've not really caught up to date with everything yet, so I've kind of like jumped ahead a lot.
Yes, because I sent you the playlist and you said you wanted to watch them, and I was like, okay, this one is probably the most important, but you can watch all these other ones as well.
I'm still near the beginning somewhere with a lot of it. I've got catching up to do before I get it right.
It's like the MCU. You're starting with phase 1, but then you've just jumped all the way to like the Fantastic Four.
Past Endgame, basically. Yeah. It's like there's been huge jump. Like in terms of what you've done, what I saw from the beginning to here, like both like all in terms of like the animations obviously jumped up a lot. Your sound, how you're using that's jumped up. You can see the scripting's jumped up and all that kind of stuff. So that was the big thing I've seen, because I'm going back a few years, so I can see where the leaps and bounds there. That'd be the biggest thing I've noticed. yeah, I'm going to leave it at that for my comment. Because obviously, I do need to catch up on all the story stuff, so I'm going to see where things have evolved from there first.
No, thank you for that. I appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I feel like the same thing as well, but part 1 will still have a special place within my heart, specifically for the bit where the ship literally just splits in two.
I still get upset about that.
When I saw that for the first time, I was like, what
I
the
cried.
fuck?
I know, I was like crying. I'm like, why am I crying? It's a ship.
Because, like, from what has been watched up till, like, that point, like, it was pretty, normal sort of, like, animation stuff. But when the ship split, I was like, wow, okay, we've stepped up a lot from when I first watched all your stuff. And even now, like, you've stepped up again, especially with the little thing above Hot Rod's head. Like, that, when I saw that in part 2, that was cool. As it just the whole scene revolving around that thing was just wow. Especially considering, like, for all the G1 nutcases that have seen the 86 movie and know what that is, you'll be in for a lot of fun.
You know what that actually is, like, when you put it down, is visually all that is I mean, obviously it's a ship so we can see it, but in terms of VFX, it's just loads of spherical UFOs just layered on top of each other and stretched in different ways and rotated at different angles, just to look a bit different. But I tried to sort of give it that look to it. But yeah,
I think I know why.
You've nailed it.
Thank you.
I think I know why you felt emotional when the ship snapped.
Why was that? Because I think I remember sending Jacob a voice message at the time, and I was just like almost in tears. I think.
Dude, how long have you had that ship in continuity? It's like, dang it, not the ship.
Oh, the figure, the toy.
Yeah, I mean, you've used it in, like, for how long now, and just to see it snapped, it's like, oh man.
Yeah. I mean, it's not
Mystery Machine.
It's still in one piece, the actual figure.
I know, but the effect was really good.
Yeah, I had it since 2011, so yeah, I do like that ship. But yeah, it'll be. I do want to sort of use the ship in another expanded universe, like before, on Cybertron. I would like to do that. I do have plans for that.
Yeah, I think you've got plans for that, especially with a particular project that I've done my lines for, which
you have.
Yeah, may or may not come around as soon as part 2 releases. Who knows? Wait.
Yeah, I mean, in regards to that project, just while we're on the topic, I'm still gonna do it. I sort of had this thing where End of Days Part 2 was delayed because I worked on loads of expanded universes, and now some of the expanded universes are going to take back seat as I work on Part 3. I could try and do Part 3 and expanded universes at the same time, but then I think it just gets a bit messy. I think what I'll be doing is working on. I'm going to probably take it like 2-3 weeks off, but I'll probably start working on Part 3 within the next month, hopefully. Get Part 3 done, and then obviously 4, 5, and 6. Once the End of Days is done as a whole, I think I'll probably start trying to finalize the expanded universe stories, edit them, and then move on from End of Days to season 5. I'll see how I feel when I get there, but that's the plan at the moment.
A lot of gears moving.
Gotta find me a role for Part 3, please.
We're the nearest Nest Trooper. Who can we slaughter this?
Make way more Nest Troopers.
We can just have like your entire
personalities.
Yeah, they're like all members of the same family. Like there's Jim, there's Bob, there's Jerry.
And
They all die if they're voiced by this guy.
Sure. Horrible.
Did you ever see Spaceballs?
I've seen bits of it.
Oh
Right.
man,
Do you remember
Not
that
again.
bit with the family name? Like, can we say it
surrounded
on
by
here?
assholes.
Yeah. Yo.
Oh my god.
Oh,
Yeah.
I can't believe they're doing a Spaceballs too.
I'm excited.
Search
They
for
are?
more
They're
money.
doing a baseball too.
Yeah.
No.
I honestly had a lot of fun working on End of Days. I know it was fun revisiting this.
Thank you. I'm curious, Thanatos, which bit are you on now, or do you have it on pause?
I had on pause. I honestly, because I want to see the premiere, I've just been like skimping through like random bits, and I'm just loving every bit I see.
Nice. No, thank you. The only other sort of bit we sort of touch upon the soundtrack, just sort of general thoughts. It's funny because I didn't find the soundtrack till late, and I was kind of like not rushing, but I was thinking, what soundtrack do I use? I'm like, God, give me a sign. Which soundtrack do I use? And then I just found them like full on, like this one, all in the same place, and then they just worked out the music went high, then it went low at the same points as the scenes, dialogue, and stuff like that. And I'm like, wow, this is like fate. This fits well. The only difference is when I did part 1. If you look at the credits on there, I lost count how many musicians I sort of like got the music from, all royalty free obviously, but I lost count how many like artists there were in that part. In this one I used 4, and 2 of them only had like I think there was 5 actually, and 3 of them only had like 1 or 2 songs used in each one. The main 2 was Feslin Studios and Sounds Great, so I pretty much sourced everything from 2 sources. I'm curious sort of how you felt the soundtrack on this one.
I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, chef's kiss. It really worked. I think it was pretty spot on throughout.
The Megatron scenes, it complemented like perfectly. Like you just felt power behind this character. Like when a character spoke and you added the soundtrack, it worked really well.
Thank you. Which sort of brings me to my last point is, do you guys have any sort of questions in regards to the project, or just anything in general?
How soon till part 3?
Hopefully this year.
No, joke question that was, sorry.
No, hopefully this year. Part 3 it's shorter than the thing. Part 1 and 2 were the big, as I mentioned in the credits, the big hitters. I feel better now. I guess technically part 2 isn't done yet because I've got to make those final adjustments, but I feel better now. Like part 2 is like done, and part 3 and 4 are probably with the same sort of length as each other, but they should be a lot easier to make than part 1 and 2. So I'm hoping for this year, if not maybe like January next year at the very most. Like, I don't want to take too long on it, even though I did full steam ahead on this. But I also obviously have my Christmas special in December, which I usually try and work in November, so that's a month of. I see Jacob smiling there. So I'll probably take a month to work on that. So there's 4 or 5 months after the year in terms of my project, but I can work on it. So I'll try this year to get at least most of it done, if not all of it. So yeah. Any other questions you have, or anything?
Will we ever see Steve again?
Steve was in it, but yeah. No, Steve does make an appearance. A few appearances, actually.
Yay.
Generally in the background. Yeah. I could add loads of bits in, with Steve, but I chose just sort of not to, just because it probably won't fit the tone. Like, you've got Megatron just raging and being like, and then you've just got Steve like, Ahoy, mateys! I mean, Thanatos, you're Steve. I don't know what you would have Steve say when Megatron.
Oh, nothing. I mean, like, you seriously made this Megatron a monster. When he speaks, you shut the hell up.
Oh yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
it doesn't matter who you are. You could be like the most comedic person. You could be Mr. Bean, and yeah, like the Megatron would scare him that bad.
We do actually in 1518 Days on Accident. We do see Steve talking to Deadlock, and Steve is like, "My loyalty with Megatron will stay loyal to him until he returns." And now he's returned, and Steve's like, "I think it was more peaceful without him." Yeah, we've got about 10 minutes left. Do you guys have anything else you want to sort of discuss in terms of the film, or anything sort of in general with it?
Probably the one thing I've got to ask is, why are there so many like impactful moments? I don't want to like specifically say like, well, probably like the deaths. Like, why are these ones like they're unexpected?
Yeah.
And like very impactful to like what was the reasoning behind choosing these characters in particular?
Yeah, so there are reasons for that. Part of it is to drive certain characters against each other, like you've killed him or you've killed them. So it drives a wedge between like that character and that character. It would sort of also divide them into sort of groups, so they'd group together and then they'd group together. It's also in terms of the stuff Megatron does, a lot of it is I think I mentioned it in the Q&A. I don't remember, but one thing I kind of wanted to show in part 2 was Megatron's like mental state, because he spent years on his own, and he's kind of been driving himself mad. And in this part, I kind of wanted to show he's got a different mentality. Like before, where in like Dawn of Corruption Part 3, he was very much like Decepticon leader Megatron, sort of stereotypical Megatron. In this one, I kind of want to show like a, how do I say it, like his mental stability's gone down a bit, and he's more prone to aggression, and he's not quite thinking straight in some bits. We'll see it in the later parts of End of Days, where he doesn't contradict himself, but he'll say things where it's kind of like you'll think twice and be like, oh, why has he said that? And a lot of it is to show his sort of descent into not madness, but his descent into sort of madness.
Dude, your Megatron puts most Galvatrons to shame as far as like scary crazy.
Thank you. No, that's a compliment considering the Marvel Comics Galvatron.
I mean, he's almost approaching SG Prime levels of evil.
And part of it is also just to assert dominance. It's, like, I mean, you all know what he does, but part of it is just to say, I'm in charge, I'm setting this example. And, if you don't fall in line, this is a decent character, and I'm just going to get rid of them. That's what's going to happen. And that's pretty much, in a nutshell, what it is. Other characters sort of serve a... It's so hard to say without spoilers, isn't it? But other characters, kind of their death sort of basically show the degrade in either side. And this project, End of Days, is all about like an all-out war, and there's going to be casualties on both sides, and both sides have advantages. They have characters who are really good at that or really good at that, and without them they lose a big strategic advantage. So in terms of certain characters' deaths, they lose that strategic advantage on their side, and because they lose that strategic advantage, it forces them to do other things later on in part 3, 4, and 5 and 6. It forces them to explore other routes and take challenges on in a different way than what they normally would. And yeah, and other characters, it's just like, they die because they were too focused on trying to kill someone else and they weren't paying attention to something else, what they should have been paying attention to. And some characters are full of rage.
Yeah, especially with the particular fight in the trailer that's between the Autobots that are on Earth and the Decepticons. With how many casualties there were at the end of that fight, I am honestly surprised there wasn't any more casualties, especially with how ferocious the Autobots in particular were putting it out.
Yeah.
And like it just surprised me. Like, granted, the deaths that did happen were shocking, but I'm just surprised, like, with how aggressive those fights were, that certain characters that I thought were dead were they're still alive.
Do you sort of see what I meant by this comment? I don't know if you remember it, but a while ago I said that the base battle is a lot like the space battle in part 1, how we got it's basically a full-on fight where we got lots of different characters going against each other, and it's just a big fight back and forth, but it's on Earth instead of space. Do you guys sort of see what I mean by that now? How it sort of played out?
Oh yeah, definitely, yeah.
But in terms of like,
Indeed,
the Dinobots, I tried to do it where they're competent fighters, but they're also experience-wise they're not quite there yet. And although they are, they're kind of like the opposite to the Predacons, but the Predacons are more aggressive. They actually have that experience, where the Dinobots are just like inexperienced. And we see in the trailer, especially Grimlock, he just wants to fight Megatron because he insulted him. That's the only reason. He's like, I want to prove I'm stronger than him. Like, and it's just like, yeah, he's just a kid wound up that won't take no for an answer. But no, I'm glad you guys enjoyed it.
yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, definitely agree. It was a lot of fun doing this project, and with how it's turned out, it's definitely building up things as well. Because part 1 was like the opener; it was meant to have all the flashy starting like points and all that. Part 2 is definitely that calmness before what happens next. Because I'd have to double check in terms of like what part 3 entails, but it definitely picks up from where this part leaves off. Definitely.
Yeah. So part 3 is, I wouldn't say it's as action packed, but it does have action in it. It's part 3 sort of drives the story more. Part 4 and 5 do as well. There's still action, in each one, but part 3, 4, and 5 add bits to the story whilst also adding in, a couple of fights, not as long as these ones. And then it all sort of builds up to the penultimate part 6, which I'm not looking forward to filming. Why did I make those decisions? But yeah, no. I'm glad you all enjoyed it, and thank you very much for your feedback. And you can watch it as many times as you want, before the public release. But I know me and Primus will have to go in a moment. So before we sort of close this, do you have any sort of final words?
I just wanted to say again, like, yeah, thank you for involving me in this. I know I've only had a small part, but it's just been incredible being involved in it. Looking forward to, continuing to be involved. Part 3, moving forwards. It's going to be fun.
I mean, you were the hero, Primus, because I mean, we saw it in the trailer. Right. It's not really a spoiler, but you know, you're human, and just that little squad, and you're like, let's take Blackout on. Let's do
exactly
it.
Right. If I weren't distracting, you know, like Blackout being those little squishies, basically getting squashed and stuff, like, you know, it would have all been over, right? It's far quicker.
Ah, yeah. You're the hero.
Hero. Yeah. My screams saved the day.
You caused that Decepticon to like turn and look like, what's that? And then they get shot in the back.
Spoilers.
Once again, the Decepticons underestimate the human faction, as they do in all other forms of media. Like seriously, it's a running thing with this bloody franchise. The Decepticons always underestimate the humans. For once, can they just be like, oh shit, we need to take these guys seriously. They've been fucking us over for eons now.
Right. The meat sacks are dangerous. Maybe we should start worrying about them.
Exactly. I mean, like, have you seen the shit they've been pulling off these current generation?
Don't let those things be heavy. Dangerous.
Yeah. Jacob Thanatos, before we end, in like 2 minutes, do you have anything you want to say?
I'd like to say that thank you for having me be a part of this project. It was really fun. This is actually one of the rare times, like, I love voicing Starscream, especially when he has a Megatron to go up against. You know, I love voicing that treacherous son of a glitch. And the other characters too, like the range you motivated me to do. So thank you. Your directing and stuff has definitely improved.
No, thank you for that. I appreciate that, Thanatos. And thank you for being Starscream.
And it definitely makes it even better between like the Starscream Megatron dynamic, because this is the Starscream that can actually like go toe to toe with Megatron, not just in words, but also in like ferocity as well. And it just makes me just all giddy, just like this is the kind of Starscream I'd like to see like step up in their game. Like, if I could compare it to anything regarding like the Transformers media, it would definitely be along the lines of like the Armada, Starscream, and Megatron dynamics.
Yeah.
It reminded me so much of like that dynamic, and it's just so great to see.
No, thank you. Armada was a huge, inspiration, and the Nintendo DS games were a huge inspiration for my Decepticons as well for the film, as I've mentioned in my channel before. But no, thank you. I do really, really appreciate that, and hopefully you can all join the public premiere when it premieres. But yeah, John, I know you have to get going.
Yep.
I will as well. And Jacob, I know it's probably like 3 a.m. for you. So
2 a.m. You're an hour off.
Nice. That's the time I went to bed last night, just trying to like finish this. That's why I saw Batman. I was like, Batman. I saw Batman. Where are they?
Well, I mean, you're in the UK. Wouldn't it be Spring Heel Jack?
I have no clue. Probably Mr. Bean. Let's go Mr. Bean. Bean.
That's potentially more scary.
Well, no, thank you all for joining. I'll leave all your channels in the description below, and hopefully, you can all join the premiere on July the 12th. So thank you. I'll end this stream, and hopefully we can rejoin in a couple of weeks and actually discuss our spoiler version. No, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, same here.
All right, thank you all.
Thanks for watching, if people are watching it after, and till all are one.
Till all are one.
Or one.